All right, everybody. Good evening. This is the Southwest Florida TechNet. We are broadcasting live on YouTube and on Zoom all over the world and universe, depending on how far out you are. Let's see here. Tonight we are doing geostationary weather satellites, and then we're going to do FL Digi, and then after that we're going to do a crash course for field day. I just got some quick stuff we're going to run through at the end there. To give everybody a little brush-up course on how to do field day. And if you've never done a contest and you've never done field day, if you stick around tonight for this 25-minute segment we're going to do towards probably about 9:30 or so, 9 o'clock. If you stick around for that segment, I will get it comfortable for you. It's not a big deal. John taught me at Winter Field Day how to do it, and it's not a big deal. And I've been doing it. I've been working contests ever since, and I love working phone. It's the only time someone's actually there that will talk to you on phone. It's awesome. I want to talk to them and they want to talk to me at the same time. It's just a win-win. Anyway, all right. So we're going to talk about that later on. But first, we're going to talk about the geosynchronous satellites. And of course, I got Joseph in again with me tonight. KM4OVZ is in tonight. I wanted to make sure I got that right. He's going to be working with me tonight on all these different segments. So it's going to be fun. I know I'm doing field day. I'm actually going to do the shack. This is the last opportunity to work from home on a field day. So I decided I'd go ahead and take it this year for various reasons. So I'm going to work from here. I've never done a full-fledged contest from here. I've got my shack is set up and ready to go. I'm a few monitors short.
Now, Ian, it's not enough. It's not a contest.
What I'm doing this weekend's a contest. So I don't know. I know, John. Actually, I'm not in it to win it either, to be honest. None of us are going to win it. Okay. There's some guy in Albuquerque that gets 20,000 contacts in a weekend, and he's going to win it. Okay. So it's kind of it. No, I agree. It's a lot of fun though. And it's a good competition to compete against yourself and the points you got last year. And of course, to work with your club to get points for your club too. So anyway, I just think field day is wonderful. John coordinated a wonderful winter field day and it was great. I worked the entire time it was on with the exception of some breaks. And I had a great time. I sat there all night and worked and had a great time. So this year, or for summer, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do it at home. And then we'll see where we do it for the winter one, because that's one good thing about this. There's always one less than 6 months away. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to get back to that later on. For those, we just had some people just join us. I do want to say hi to Greg and Jerry and Vic and Rick and Leonard and Larry. And KF2, what is it? KF2NG, and Dave and Bob and Joseph and John all in tonight. And we're going to get more, I'm sure, coming in as the night goes on. We're going to start off tonight with geostationary weather satellites. Because
you might want to refresh the slides, because I added a slide really quick that we forgot to add.
Oh, okay. I'll refresh the slideshow. Slideshow refreshing. That reminded me of Back to the Future.
All that refreshing so far.
Yeah, well, it's trying. It's doing this.
Not
Computer's
as refreshing
doing
as my beverage.
Yeah. Your slideshow is refreshed.
Slideshow is refreshing. Please do not turn off your computer.
That reminded me of Back to the Future. Remember the second movie where they're in the future? Your jacket is dry. Okay, there we go. Oh, you guys don't remember Back to the Future? Come on, that's the best 3 movies ever, unless you're a Star Trek guy. All right, anyway.
Blazing Saddles is the best movie ever.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, we've got receiving and decoding geostationary weather satellites. Now, geosynchronous, geostationary, it's all pretty much the same thing. What we're talking about is satellites that are further out than the ones we talked about last week. And Joseph and I are going to go back and forth. This first topic's mostly his. So, Joseph, pick up wherever you want. And when you're done, throw it back.
All right. So if y'all who were here were those of you who were here last week know that the NOAA satellites orbit the Earth, but these ones sit out there at about 23,000. Is it 23,000 miles? I think it is. And they orbit Earth at the same exact speed the Earth rotates. So from our point of view, they do not move in the sky, which means you can point an antenna at them, and it will always be pointed at the satellite. It doesn't matter the day or night. So they actually transmit, since they're far enough away from Earth, they can have a camera on them which can see a whole side of the Earth at once. And so they produce beautiful full disk images, which are really cool because you get the entire circle. So hold on, what is this?
This is where we want to just make sure people understand the difference between geostationary satellites and polar orbiting satellites, like the NOAA ones we talked about last week.
Yeah.
And geosynchronous ones, they move at the speed of the planet. So in other words, I want you to think about this. If you're going around something, you have to go a lot faster than whatever it is spinning that you're going around. And so these things are way out here, and they're spinning very fast to keep up with the Earth. And they're over the exact same point on the Earth at all times. And so that's like he says, you point your dish at this. You don't need motors. You don't need anything. You're done. Once you're zoomed in, you're done. This is totally different than the other ones where we have to build this big specialty antenna in order to receive them. With this one, you need a dish, but you only have to point it at one location. So it's a totally different system that we're talking about now. These orbit a lot further out than the other ones we were talking about last week. Those are polar orbiting satellites. These are geosynchronous or geostationary satellites, meaning that they literally move at the same rotation as the Earth, just a lot further out, going a lot faster so they can keep up with us.
Like having a 22,500 mile long tower.
There you go. Yep. Yeah, I'd love to have a repeater on one of these. But anyway, you go. I'd have to buy a radio that talks on these frequencies. Okay, there you go.
So you can get these live images. Thankfully, someone from the ham radio community has actually gone and made a free piece of software which takes your RTL SDR dongle. It does actually need an RTL SDR dongle. It can interface with that device. It does all the tuning. It does all the bandwidth setting and demodulation all in one piece of software. And so you basically connect your dongle to your antenna, and you put a little low noise amplifier in there. And once the software is running, you don't have to do anything else. It's all pre-made. It's all works. It'll just start spitting out images into a folder. So the setup has a lot of individual steps, but overall it is very simple to set up. You need if there's a hurricane, this will not go out unless your antenna is damaged. So if the internet's out for a while, you could probably even keep this up during a hurricane if you had it in a mounted nice and sturdily, and maybe it's at the corner of your house or something where you may have trees or something keeping the debris from hitting it. They also do infrared bands, so you can get full color images, but the main purpose of this thing is to do infrared, and infrared studies the clouds. The different wavelengths show different kinds of clouds and whatnot, so they combine together and you get a color image.
The infrared images are really cool because what it's actually doing. Sorry for interrupting there, Joseph. For those of you who aren't aware, the infrared images, how they actually look at the clouds is they detect the cold cloud tops, and they show you an array of colors depicting how cold the cloud tops are. And this becomes really helpful in tropical systems because the colder the top of the system is, the stronger the bottom of the system is. And so during the day, we can see visible satellite images. They're wonderful because we can see definition. We can see down into the clouds. We can see down into the eye of the hurricane. Those are wonderful. But at night, we don't get those anymore. So they've got this infrared imagery, which in its own right is it's better in some ways, almost as good in others. And now you can, by looking at the cold cloud tops, we can see just about all the same things we can see on the visible image. Okay.
Can we go back one slide?
Yep.
Wait, that was photos.
There we go.
Okay. So you do have your infrared, and what the software does to get your color image is it actually combines 3 or 4 of the infrared channels together to get you a color image. The satellite does actually take real color images using a color camera, but those are sent on a much higher frequency, and you need a much larger dish and special receiver equipment to actually get these images. So we're getting sort of the secondhand data from the satellite with our small dishes, but it is combined together, so you get a color image of Earth. Some things look a little bit different, like the oceans will look kind of dark, whereas they don't normally look dark in an actual color image. The hardware setup is very simple. You just plug the 3 devices together into each other using SMA connectors, and you're done. However, it does require some understanding of Linux and the command line tools. So this will seem pretty complicated at first, but we've provided everything in a text file. If you go into the chat in Zoom, there's a text file in there, and in it I have put every command in order and little notes on there for when to run them. So if you just copy each command, paste it, run it, then copy the next one and paste it, if everything went correctly, it should be set up and ready to go if you just copy and paste these commands. And you are actually compiling software from the source, so it's not the same as downloading the installer and running it. You actually are compiling something. So
now this is a little bit of a complicated process. So what Joseph's done is he's done a video that will explain the setup process in depth. And we figured that it would probably be best to just attach that so that if you guys are setting, when you're ready to set this up, there's the video and it's ready to go. I don't think we have anybody out there tonight that's ready to start connecting equipment and set this up. So that being said, Joseph did a video. That video is going to be posted right here on the TechNet YouTube page, probably later tonight. So it'll be right there where you can get to it. I also think he might have a link to it that he's going to put up as well for right now. But the thing is once this is over tonight, give it a few hours and I'll have that up on YouTube, and you'll be able to actually go and watch a video that Joseph put together that will walk you through step-by-step how to set that up. All right.
Yep.
Do you want next slide or where are we at?
Yeah, we can go ahead.
Okay, there we go.
All right, so the hardware, you only need like 4 things and a few little SMA adapters. The number one most important thing is the antenna. You can't really build this antenna because it's a very high frequency. It's a 1.7 gigahertz. So building an antenna is possible, but I've not seen many people successfully do it. So the brand called NOAA, which makes a lot of ham radio stuff like dongles and these low noise amplifiers, they're all made by NOAA. They actually make this antenna on Amazon. It's about $100, and it gives you the antenna. It gives you instructions for putting it together. And if you get that, you just mount that somewhere where it's pointed at a satellite, and that's your antenna. It's pretty simple to do. I've done it. It's definitely not that complicated. You can alternatively buy a pre-made, like a Wi-Fi grid dish antenna is what they're normally called. And if you actually take the reflector and you flip it around, that will actually lower the resonant frequency of the antenna to 1.7 gigahertz. So they both cost about the same to get either the NOAA or a Wi-Fi antenna. I built mine with a Wi-Fi antenna. It was super easy. It works great. I've got it out mounted and it works fine. But NOAA does actually make a pre-modified antenna now, which is pretty cool. Now the low noise amplifier. This signal is really weak. As we said, it's coming from 23,000 miles away. So if you were to connect your dongle straight to the antenna, you wouldn't get anything, even if you were pointed right at it. So NOAA makes the Sawbird GOES filter, which costs about $30, if I remember correctly. And you pretty much have to have this. It's a filter and a low noise amplifier. It's required for this pretty much. You power it off micro USB or the bias T on your dongle. You can also power it with just 2 little 5-volt power leads. Another thing you'll need is an RTL SDR dongle, which we did talk about in the previous TechNet. These things cost about $25 on Amazon, and everybody should have one because they're super useful. But you just plug that into USB on a Raspberry Pi. The 3B Plus, which is probably the most common one, works fine. You don't need a lot of memory. You can just get the cheapest one, the 4 gig memory version. And once you have that, that's all your hardware. You'll need to power the Raspberry Pi, but you can do that with like a phone charger, basically. So you can get power supplies, but you could also do it just with a phone charger. So the hardware only takes these 4 devices and an adapter for connecting to the antenna, but that's like $1. So those are the 4 main hardware pieces that you need. Very simple. Everything's on Amazon. It costs total setup cost maybe like $70 without the antenna. So it's pretty cheap actually for doing a whole new project.
And I just want to let you guys know, if you've not used the dongle yet, I got one right here actually. I have 2 of these now, and I'm going to be buying a 3rd one as soon as I can. They're $27. I think, yeah, $27, and it just plugs in, and your antenna goes on there. I know a lot of you probably already have these, so I'm not going to go spend too long on it. Next week, or within the next few weeks, I haven't talked to Joseph yet to see if he's available next week, but in the next few weeks, we're going to do the SDRs and SDR Sharp, specifically the program. And we're also going to go more in depth with going into some of the other things like what is that called? Web SDR.
Yep, Web SDR.
And we're gonna mention that later tonight. We're gonna talk about that. But anyway, if you don't have one of these, make the $27 investment. Make one easy payment, and get that, because this thing will hook up and it picks up every frequency from like 1 to a billion. Okay, so, and that's totally non-scientific what I just said, but anyway, get you one of those. That's the way to go. There is some things you can get to go with this, an up converter, and we'll talk about that next week or whenever we do it, to make the low band stuff work a lot better, the HF stuff work a lot better. And there's also filters like we're talking about now. So there's some things you can add to it. And there's QRP rigs for like $150. You can buy one of these that will actually transmit. You can throw, an amplifier on there and do different things. There's some really cool stuff, and we're going to get into all that, because I got to tell you, the SDR, the software-defined radios are really quickly becoming a big deal. All right, we're back to here. We done with this one?
Yeah.
All right. There we go. We need some of these things.
Yeah, so these satellite antennas, when I first got one, I didn't know this, but they all come with a UHF Type N connector, because PL259 apparently has too much loss for these high frequencies, so they put Type N on there. So you can get these on Amazon. The one in the picture is the one I have. They cost, I think, like $5 for one, although I'm sure you could get a pack of like 1 million for $1 somewhere else. So they're you do need one of these, and that I'm just putting this in here because when I first got this, I didn't know. I assumed it had PL259, and I was had to wait another week for another day or two for one of these come in the mail. So just a little bit of warning, you do need one of these adapters. So if you have a Wi-Fi grid dish, maybe you already have one, or you decide to buy one instead of getting the NOAA one. All you got to do, like we said before, is just turn that reflector around. Normally the little concave is actually facing the other way. So you just flip that around. You can also put like a little rubber grommet in there, or a little piece of tube or something to space it out more. That can actually help even more if you're not getting good enough signals. I didn't even bother with the spacer. I just flip mine around and it works fine. There's not really much you need to do, especially down here in Florida, where you can just point it. You don't even need to do hardly anything except point it at the satellite. If you're in a different area of our coverage, if you're way up north or way down south, you might need to skew your antenna and do some other things to it to make up for the polarization skew. But here in Florida, it's really easy to do. You just put this dish up, flip the reflector around, and the antenna is ready to go.
Yeah, these all orbit on the equator. So the closer you are to the equator, obviously, the easier it is to get the signals. If we were up in the northern part of Canada, this would be like a good luck. You're going to need a bigger dish.
Yeah. the software. Now, here's where the meat of this project is. Most of your work is going to be done in software. So I know this is going to be complicated, I guess. Most of us here are probably doing better with physical hardware stuff, but we have a guide made and everything. So if you follow this guide, it shouldn't be too hard. So number one is Raspbian, or Raspberry Pi OS, which is the name of the operating system that you put on a Raspberry Pi. You can do 3 different versions of it, or actually 2. One of them has a full desktop. So if you were to connect a monitor and a keyboard and mouse to your Pi, you could use it just like a laptop computer. The other version has no desktop environment, so it's all done off of commands that you type in. If you connect a screen, nothing will happen. And we're going to be using the headless version where there's no desktop. So all our work will be done in the Linux terminal. It will look complicated. You'll be sitting there with a blinking cursor and you'll be like, what do I do now? But that's what we have the guide for. Everything in there, I've run through each step personally and made sure everything works. So there's a lot of steps, but if you go through the list, it should come out on the other end as a functional piece of software. Ghost tools, kind of like we said earlier, somebody made that free of charge on GitHub, and that's where it's hosted. So if that ever goes down, then this software might become a bit difficult to find. But and WinSCP. Now, your images, when they go on the Raspberry Pi, will be saved to a folder on the main drive. Now, you can't pop the SD card out and put it in your computer because it's actually going to have a different partition format. Your computer will not read this format by default. So what you'll actually have to do is install this program WinSCP. You can use terminal commands if you're familiar with Linux to copy the files over, but this gives you a user interface for navigating the Raspberry Pi's directories and downloading files from it. It's very easy to set up. It's free. It's very easy to do. I actually have a little picture in here later that shows how to do it. So you will need WinSCP to get the images off. You can get them off other ways, but that's just the way I found it was the easiest. So the Ghost Tools guide, like we said earlier, will be on the YouTube channel. It's not uploaded yet, but it's about 7 minutes long, and it's got every step in there from start to finish, all the way from downloading the operating system to flashing it to the SD card to connecting to the Raspberry Pi to your Wi-Fi network and logging in to the terminal, installing, compiling, and then from there we'll do setup, the actual physical installation. So everything for compiling is inside that YouTube video. Once you've got it compiled, you only have to connect your dish antenna, aim the antenna at a satellite, which is a little bit difficult if you don't know where in the sky to point it. But there are a lot of websites online and even apps on your phone, which will actually give you like a camera, and you can use the camera to find the little marker. And as long as you're lined up with it, you can also play the dish back and forth, scan it across the sky until the numbers start to go up. Here in Florida, it's really easy to find because, again, we're like right by the equator. Once you've got your antenna set up, you want to start the software running. Once you've got your signal and it's running, you're ready to get images. You get about 1 image of Earth every 15 minutes, and you get infrared stuff like every minute. It's a lot of pictures that come in. Oh boy. Okay. So I guess this is for future reference for people wanting to watch this on YouTube later. I know this isn't, it'll be impossible to retain all this right now, but I'm going to run through this quickly. So you're going to need to open 2 separate terminal windows on your computer. Now, in our YouTube guide, we go through how to connect a Raspberry Pi to the terminal. So we'll connect the Pi by running the command here in bold on Windows on both the terminals. So you'll want to connect twice. On the first window, you'll want to run this command here, which is in the text file. This will start the receiver software. So this will give you your signal strength meter. You'll see a bunch of lines start to fill in on the screen, and you're going to want to find the row that says VIT average. I'm not really sure what VIT stands for, but that's your signal strength. When you first start it, you'll probably see a number around 2000, which means no signal at all. But once you get closer to the satellite, you'll start to see the number drop to like 700, 500, 400, and you ideally want to have it around 250. It works fine at 350. He says here ideally below 400, but I've used it up to like 350. You should see 0 drops, which will happen if you have a good signal. You won't have any drops. If you have anything above 600, it won't really work. It'll say maybe that it's getting packets, but it'll just keep dropping over and over and over. If you have it, once it's below 500, you want to run the goes proc command, which actually starts the downloading of images. So that command is here and it's in the text file, and you run that command and that actually starts the software. So you've got two different sections. You've got the receiver software and the image generation software. They're two separate things. That's why you need two separate terminal windows. So that's all in the text file. So don't be too intimidated.
All right.
And WinSCP, this is really easy to install. Again, here's the URL for it, winscp.net. You open it, you log into the Pi using the IP address, and you want to navigate to the home/pi/goes folder, which is where all your images will be. You'll actually have 3 subfolders for goes 16, 17, and you actually get some National Weather Service stuff in there too. You get some like charts of the ocean temperatures and stuff, wind patterns and things. So you actually get some extra files in there besides just the images. Here's the little WinSCP login window. For file protocol, you want to set that to SCP. For your IP address, in the video, I show how you find your Pi's IP address. So once you have that, you'll already have that once you've compiled. You want to put that where it says host name. The username by default is PI, or for Pi, and the default password is raspberry. You need to save that login for future use, because if you don't, every time it'll ask you to re-enter that information in, and it gets pretty annoying. Once you've entered in all that for information, you just hit login, and you'll have a file tree, just like you would on Windows. So you can click around in there and download files and open them and stuff. It's really quite a useful tool for anything Raspberry Pi related. And that pretty much covers it.
That's pretty much it. Any questions for Joseph? Because I wouldn't know. Okay, either you've got them messed up, or you did
Rick,
good.
Does Rick have something?
Should be a piece of cake for me. Of course, I'm a Linux administrator, so the Linux.
Yeah, that's good.
So anyway.
Yeah, you can install it on your Linux laptop. It doesn't have to be a Raspberry Pi. The only issue you may have is finding the a few dependencies, because if you're compiling on a Raspberry Pi, the dependencies will be different versions and stuff, and it's kind of weird how Linux works. But
so on a regular Linux box, an Intel-based Linux box, you don't even have to compile like this. Is that right?
No, you still have to compile it. All the commands should be the same. However, I have attempted to install it on a Linux laptop in the past, and I was met with dependencies not being present.
Yeah, seen that before.
But people have done it successfully. So if you mess around online or ask on the make an issue on the GitHub page, asking for, if you've got missing dependencies, make an issue on GitHub, and the people who make the software actually respond very quickly. So you could get them to help you, because I've seen people do it successfully many times. I just haven't gotten it to work.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Anything else on the geosynchronous satellites? Anything else, guys?
Way to get the coordinates of the satellites, because you're going to need that information to know where to aim the antenna.
So you can, that's one thing that was a bit difficult for me when I did it. There are apps that let you do it, but a lot of them have a paywall behind them before they'll let you use like the camera or whatever. GOES 16 is the satellite I'd recommend using, and there are websites that will actually give you they'll use Google Maps, and they'll actually give you a line, because the most difficult part is actually aiming it left to right and not really up and down, because if you have left to right in, then you can just move it up and down and find it. But it really is just straight south because of the position of the satellite and where Florida is. It is almost exactly due south here in Fort Myers. So point it due south, you'll probably pick up the signal. I mean, it's pretty simple.
Should be a piece of cake. I've installed my own TV satellite dish before. So this should
Yeah. Yeah, and you can monitor the signal strength output while you're doing it, and just wait for that little VIT number to go below 500, and if you see it, you say anything other than 2000, that means you're pretty close. So it's once you have it locked on, once you have it, just if you have a weak signal, once you find it just a little bit, it is really easy to get it dialed in.
Okay. Anything else on the geostationary weather satellite stuff? All right. And if you guys do, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rick.
The same receiver can be used for these. What is it I wanted to mention tonight? The let's see, ADS-B aircraft radar. The visions where you can actually plot the locations of the local planes coming in. So,
You mean the dongle, the little USB dongle?
yeah.
Yeah, they can be used for that. I do that all the time. You can hook up your 2-meter antenna even to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's the same. It's a similar program, but you don't have to compile it. It's called Dump 1090, and then you install virtual radar server, and it'll host its own little web page that you go to, and you can see all the planes that it's picking up. It's a very simple process. I do it all the time.
Yeah. That was a big hit up in Atlanta. Of course, they got a lot of aviation up there, so I call it shot down here. It's probably pretty busy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, every time I drive through the interstate in Atlanta, a plane goes right over the car. And it's because there's one landing every like 48 seconds or something. I don't know, some crazy number. I don't know.
It's going to land on your car.
But Atlanta Hartsfield, it's still one of the biggest airports in the country.
It's still one of the busiest in the world. It's not the busiest, but it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Y'all go on that plane, the plane train?
Yeah. That's a good description of it.
Yeah, that's what it says when you get on there. It says, "Welcome aboard the plane train. Please hold on."
The plane train. It's the plane without the wings.
Yep.
All right, guys. Let's we'll just move right on here. We don't take breaks here. If you got to go to the bathroom, just go do it. Let's see here. We've got the next thing we're going to talk about is FL Digi, and we're going to skim this tonight. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm still not proficient at it yet. I've been practicing. We've been going to the Thursday night net. Joseph and I went to the last two, although I had already ripped my shack half apart for field day and was not really, I don't think you were either. I know I was not ready for last night and ended up getting caught totally off guard, and I couldn't get nothing to send and nothing to go and everything else. But anyway, so, but it was a good net again last night. 8 o'clock, guys, on the 820.
Yeah, the 820 repeater.
Yeah, on the 820 repeater at 8 p.m. there's a digital net, and it's a digital net that does FL Digi, which we're going to talk about now, and SSTV, which we talked about last week. So you can go on there and practice one with the group, send and receive, talk about it on the air, and then practice the other one with the group. Send 3 pictures each, talk about it on the air. It's pretty cool. A neat net. You guys should try it. Okay. I think it's AC4ZM, I think, runs that down there.
Yeah, he does.
Great net down there. Okay. So if you're wanting to get FL Digi and you've already got your rig and your computer hooked up and they're talking, they don't normally talk. You have to work on that. But if you got them talking, FL Digi's easy. So the next step is to go ahead and download it, install it, and start figuring it out. And you can come to those Thursday night nets, and it gives you somebody to practice with, basically. So they call it, it's a digital practice net. Okay, so FL Digi. What is FL Digi? Well, we're just going to go through it real quick. It stands for Fast Light Digital. And it's an open source computer program that's intended for amateur radio digital modes operating using a PC. I got to tell you something. It's pretty complex. It does a lot of different things. It does a lot of different modes, and it does everything. But it's one of those programs that you don't have to master it to use it. You can start using it right away and then learn it as you go. Okay, kind of like so many other things in ham radio. They have a pretty, a learning curve, but you don't have to get way up this curve before you can start using the system. And that's what's nice about it. It basically uses audio frequency signals, just like what we're dealing with SSTV or FT8 or any of these others. The radio control is the same as you would use for FT8 or SSTV. It would go through either a serial, USB, or Vox, depending on how you're doing it. It's multi-mode. It can operate on, I bet you there's got to be 40 modes in here that it operates on. It's crazy. And again, when we talk about digital modes, why digital modes? Because they perform better. We can go 2 or 3, 4 times as far on digital modes than we can on phone. And sometimes they're saying 2 or 3 times as far than you can go on CW sometimes. So digital really has a high performance. All right. Anything so far, Joseph?
No, except that just confirming what you said at the start is that I went into this the other night knowing absolutely nothing about it. It was like my first time ever turning it on. And I was actually able to start decoding stuff. It's literally like you select the mode and you have your line in connected and it just starts working. So it's easy to get it going. And if you use that net that AC4ZM does as your practice, you figure it out pretty quick.
It's also kind my program of choice for decoding CW. Does a pretty good job of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. This is kind of like getting the most technologically advanced car in the world sitting in your driveway. You can still go out and drive it to the store.
Yeah.
You may not know how to use a single thing in that car. You may not even know how to turn the headlights on, but you can still drive it to the store. This is kind of like that. We literally, I turned it on like he did. And I set, the guy told me, go up to the top and turn these 2 buttons on up top and do something over here. Put your call sign in, press go. And I was talking back and forth to him on it. I was very surprised at how quick I was actually talking on it.
So
Do what?
Even can do it.
747. Yeah.
Yeah, let me tell you what, nothing plugs right in and works for me. Nothing. As a matter of fact, please don't use that term around me. When people walk up to me and, oh man, I plugged that in and it booted right up, I want to slap them. It takes me a month sometimes to get things going. Okay, let's see what's next here. This is just a few things about FL Digi. Like most digital modes, you run it with a lot lower power than you have to run your phone. And you can get the same distance with a lot less wattage, or you can get a lot more distance with the same wattage you were using before, however you want to do it. I will tell you, sometimes digital modes don't do as well at higher wattage. Sometimes you can overpower a digital mode where you can't with voice. So you got to watch that. Sometimes too much audio going into the radio and too much wattage coming out of the radio can both be a little detrimental on digital. Sometimes more is not always better with digital. It was developed for Windows, Mac, and Linux. So there, we're all 3 happy. And spectrum efficiency. Of course, with digital modes, we can put more people in less spectrum. Many modes available, including CW. If you guys heard that right, this actually decodes CW. You can go on there right now. Somebody like me that doesn't know CW and is never going to learn CW. I admit it openly. I don't want to. You can go on there right now and you can hear them guys, dee, 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 and you go right out. You can literally take this program, because I've done this, and put it on the 685 and kerchunk it, and it will actually read out KO4QWCR or whatever it is. It'll actually read it out. It's really cool. So you can try that, try a lot of different things with it. Works well at the bottom of the solar cycle because it's digital. Works great even in really bad conditions. And Charlotte County has been looking at this and JS8 Call as well as WinLink. All 3 of those they're evaluating up there for emergency communication. So with this, you can send forms. You can send ICS forms. You can send ARRL message forms. You can type like a keyboard back and forth. There's a lot of different things you can do with it. Anything so far, Joseph, that I've missed?
I don't think so.
All right, let's talk about the FL Digi software is what you're going to need. And it's like everything else in ham radio, just about, except HRD software. It's free. And you can just download that and put it in your computer. If you literally just type FL Digi into Google and download it. An XML file. They actually have files that will configure configure the thing for your radio, so you can look into that if you want to try to get rig control and all that going. You are going to need a computer, sound card. You can do a built-in sound card, signal link, or you can do a direct connection with Vox. Again, it'll work any way that FT8 or MMSS TV. I always want to put those M's in there because that's the program, but I just want to say SSTV. Anyway, all right, and the transceiver. You're going to need a transceiver for ham bands, obviously. And the hardware requirements are right there. I'm not going to go into this too much because if you haven't got your radio hooked up to your computer yet, okay, let's time, first of all. But second of all, everyone's so different that I can't sit here tonight and tell, okay, if you got an ICOM 7100, you're going to buy cable 33 alpha and you're going to plug it into slot Charlie. I can't do that. It's just too complicated. Besides, you don't want me doing that. I have 2 rigs that I've never gotten rig control working on either one of them. And we'll talk about that later. Okay, let's see here. Next up, FL Digi is actually a suite of software. I'm not going to get too much into this, but you've got a message program. You've got a program for sending PDF files and spreadsheets and pictures. That's called FL Wrap. You also have FL Amp, which is a program for, it's a multicast protocol. I'm not even sure exactly what that one does. But anyway, and then you got FL Rig, which of course is for controlling your rig with the FL Digi software. All right, Joseph, anything I missed?
I don't think so.
Any
You've
questions
been doing great
so far?
far?
All right, any questions so far? Awesome.
Raspberry Pi, see?
Yeah, well, just about anything will run on Raspberry Pi, thank God. I think eventually we'll get away from Windows. It's still a ways from that right now, though, I got to tell you. Okay, so here we are. Just a few things, very few things. I'm not going to go through 50 screens because you only need to set up just a couple of things, but there is a couple of things you need to set up. You need to go to your FL Digi configuration and you need to set up your operator information. That screen right there. You want to go ahead and put your information in there. And then you want to go over and find your audio screen and set your input and output audio card. Okay, those are 2 things you have to do or you won't be on the air. And then you got to pick your mode. Yeah, there's a few of them. Each one of these has a expansion thing that comes out and shows you like there's like 10 sub modes under each one. I got to tell you something. I don't want to go on a soapbox right now. Why do we need 500 modes? It's hard enough to find people. We got 50 bands, and on each band, we got 50 modes. And of those modes, we've got 12 types of modes and 40 different modulations and 30 different bandwidths. And I'm telling you guys, it's getting harder and harder to find the crickets in the woods because we're all making noises out here and nobody can find us. It worries me when I pull down a menu in a new program and there's all these modes. You know, it's like FT8 just came out with an update. Oh, look, we got 5 new modes in here. I'm
What
like,
is
oh,
Contestia?
great. New, I know. Why do we need all these modes? So anyway, that's my soapbox. If you guys want to create a mode, no more new modes. You have to go replace one that's already there. Okay. All right, there we go. I'm just really concerned. The good news about all the modes, there's programs like this one, and there's programs like SSTV, MMSSTV, that will auto detect what you're sending and receive the proper thing. As long as the programs can take care of the complicated part of figuring out who's talking with what mode, I'm not so bad with it. But you've got other things like FT8. If you're on FT4, you know, you're on FT4. There's nobody on FT. You're not going to find out that everybody's over on FT8 or whatever. With more like this, I believe this one will, I'm pretty sure this one will auto detect what mode you're in, from what I understand. Okay, real quick, just to show you basically around the main screen. Okay, your decoded text out goes in the tan box. So what's in the tan box? Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. And yeah, and then your text goes in the baby blue box there. That's your text to encode. And when you're encoding, you're sending it out. And then, of course, there's a waterfall. And your current mode and VFO frequency is there in big letters, and right below the numbers there, you'll see it's in USB mode. Current frequency and log info goes right there to the right of the numbers, and then there's a row of macros down there. Now, I haven't used those yet, but apparently they're pretty big to people that get into this. You can actually have macros that say everything you say. You can like have a group of macros for the weather and a group of macros for discussion and a group of macros. It's kind of like those crank phone call button things we used to have where, you press the button and it says all the different sayings. It's kind of like that. It's like a button bar, and every time you press something, it'll type something for you. It's like a shortcut. Okay, so but that's basically the whole thing right there. And you got your strength meter. Just a word to the wise: anytime we're on digital, not enough is bad, too much is bad. Always try to run your audio around 50-60% if you can. All right, now you were asking, how many modes does that decode? That many. And probably 5 more by the time we type this up. But anyway, that's how many it does. Yes. And believe it or not, that's not near all of them. It's a little ridiculous, isn't it? All right. So what do these things look like? Okay. Well, there's what they look like. It's important that we did one of these nets a while back where we went through every single sound. I'm going to give you a few examples tonight, but we're not going to go through every single one again. But basically, each type of transmission has a different signature that you'll see on the waterfall. And that signature is important because that'll help you identify, oh, that's something I can decode with this program. Oh, that's probably FT8. I know what FT8 looks like. It looks like a big zipper. Or why do I hear fireworks going off? Is there a holiday or something? There's literally fireworks going off outside my house.
Field day weekend.
Yay!
Oh, maybe that's what it is. It's field day. Okay, anyway, so if you hear shots, it's not shots, it's fireworks. The shots are usually later, right around midnight. All right, so you'll need a set audio setting on the radio to prevent overmodulating. Again, always, 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 too much is too much. Set the transmitter power to 20 or 25%. Never use full power, at least not at first. Always start low and work high when it comes to digital. I know with FT8, if I turn my audio up just a little too much, it stops decoding. It literally just a little bit of distortion in there, and it stops decoding. Additional radio settings will be required depending on your radio. And again, you have to marry your radio to your computer. That's something that you're just going to need to get us help on individual and find someone that's been successful at it. That would not be me. All right, Contestia, you were asking, well, here's what it sounds like. I don't think you guys can hear these, can you? You can't hear that, can you?
I don't hear anything.
No, I didn't think so. That's all right. You got these different ones. You can see what they look like here on the example here. This is FSQ or Fast Simple QSO. This is what this one looks like. So they could look like a bunch of different things, but here's the one I want you to see. Morse code. This will be this. If I were you, when you get FL Digi, go play with Morse code first because it's easy to find. There's a lot of it out there, and it's right there. You can see it on the waterfall and see what it looks like. And then you've got multi-frequency shift keying and Olivia and phase shift keying. We went all over these a couple weeks ago, so I just put them in here to kind of show you all the different ones. And you got radio, teletype, RTTY. It will do all of those. So FL Digi is something that you definitely want to get into. It's something that you want to start playing with because there's a lot of things it does. It doesn't just text back and forth. This is a way that you can actually send pictures and PDF files and actual tangible things back and forth, as well as being a useful utility that you can actually paste a message and send it to somebody and then save that message. And then when you get somebody else, you can paste that message in again. So it's basically a utility that can be quite helpful in a disaster situation. It also does, like I said, forms and things like that. So FL Digi is great. We are going to do a deep dive on FL Digi coming up on this TechNet. I don't think we're ready yet. We just Joseph and I just basically started this not long ago, working with this, so we're not really ready to do the deep dive yet. But when we are, you'll know. So that was FL Digi. Any questions on FL Digi that we might be able to answer for you tonight before we go to the next segment? All right. Hey, I love it. The next segment is more fun anyway. Field day. All right. Hey, it is field day. And field day is field day's fun. It's I went to Summerfield Day for a few minutes and visited when I first got my ticket. And then I went to Winterfield Day, and John taught me the ropes on phone. And before you know it, I was making contacts like a madman, and I stayed up all night doing it. Had a great time. I really didn't think physically I had it in me to stay up all night and still work the next day and stay all the way through cleanup. I didn't think I had it in me, but I did. At 51 years old, I don't generally do stuff like that no more. But anyway, it was a lot of fun. If you guys are the type of person that it's like, I always want to talk to people and I can't ever find nobody, to talk to, this is your chance to test every kind of radio, because there'll never be 2 days in the entire year with this many people on the radio. This is the 2 busiest days of the year on the radio. Okay. And I don't know if anybody wants to argue with that, but I'm pretty sure I'm right on that. So it is, ARRL says it's the single biggest operating event of the year. There's tens of thousands of operators just in this country here going to be doing it. Anyway, it's always held on the same weekend. And it can be a picnic, a camp out. But it's mostly a practice for emergencies. It's an informal contest, and most of all, of course, it's fun. The whole goal of the thing is just to contact as many people as you can. We're not trying to win a trophy, okay?
I am.
Well, there's one trophy, and the guy in Nebraska is going to win it. So I'm telling you right now. But no, the whole purpose is, you guys, is just to work on your proficiency, work on your portable operability. Work on your skill. And let me tell you what, contesting is a skill. I've been working on it. I've been contesting with FT8. I've been doing phone contesting. I think I've done, since Winter Field Day, I think I've done 4 or 5 phone contests. And it's good to practice, because each contest is a little different, but they all generally work the same. And remember, amateur radio, it's the last place. It's the last place on the radio dial that you can go and experiment with radio. Field Day. Here's a little bit of history. I thought this was kind of interesting. Field Day started in 1933. It's been around a long time. And they suspended it for a few years during, I think 3 years during the war, during World War II. And then in 76, the first team got 10,000 points. And then, of course, in 2020, COVID. That's going to be on every calendar from now on for the rest of our life. There'll always be a little thing that comes down and says COVID. It's a friendly competition, so let's just not argue over whether it's a competition or whether it's an operating event, or whether it is a get-together, or whether it's a practice. It's all of those things. It's every single one of those things.
And one thing you missed.
What's that, John?
It's also a PR opportunity.
Oh, it's huge. It's a huge one. As a matter of fact, I know I've been working with Wink to get some coverage for FMARC. I hear NBC's coming for sure. And I know we got a couple of papers. Smaller papers. So I'm hoping we get some good coverage this year. It's an important thing for the survival of our hobby. It is an important thing to get more and more people to become involved. And Field Day is a great time to bring people out and get them interested. And so I'm hoping, I was talking to the producers back at Wink, and I was telling them, we'll sit you right down. We'll let your reporter talk on the radio. We'll come up with something. I mean, we'll make it look good. We'll make it. I was saying everything I could to get them to come out there. So I think it's going to depend on the news cycle at this point. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, the public awareness thing's a huge thing, a huge part of it as well. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a minute because you actually get points for that. Eligibility, it's open to all amateur radio operators. And you can pretty much do it from anywhere in the world. Although it's centered in the United States and Canada, you can do it from anywhere in the world. Again, work as many stations as you can on the work bands, okay? This is important. This is something a lot of people don't realize. There's only certain bands you can be on. Once you get up to 6 meters, above 6 meters, you can be anywhere you want to be. But below 6 meters, you got to be on certain bands, the bands that they call the work bands. And that is 160, 80, 40, 20, 15, and 10. And then, of course, you can be on 6 all the way up. All right. And of course, they're wanting you to develop your portability skills and your operating skills. That's a big part of this. The time period, it's a little complicated. It's all right there for those of you that are setting one up and all this. You've already gone through this and you know what you're doing with your times. It's basically a 27-hour event. You can operate from, what is it? It's 1800. That's 2 p.m. So it's you can operate from 2 p.m. Saturday all the way until 5 p.m. on Sunday, if I understand it correctly. Which I don't think's the same as
caveat to that, though. Even Ian,
what's that?
You can only work till 5 o'clock if you did not start setting up until 2 o'clock.
I wonder how that affects Class D stations.
In other words, when we come in and set up at 8 in the morning and have everything set up by the time we're operating, we can only operate 24 hours.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I see this here. I got this here in the notes here, but yeah, that's interesting. So I wonder how long I can operate as a Class D station. I don't remember that in the literature.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I don't care because I'm not going to win anyway. So I'm trying to fill the logbook up and practice and get good at this. All right. So anyway, there we go. Proper planning and preparation can make all the difference. There's a lot to be planned. There's antennas. Our guys are good at it. They're going to have antennas all the way around that pavilion out there. They've been putting these up and doing this for a while now. This is kind of like our sporting event. Field day entry categories are determined by two things: the maximum number of simultaneous transmitted signals and a designator for the type of setup your group uses. Each possible setup type has a letter designator, and those are below there. I'm a D station. I'm operating from home. Like I said, this is the last year we're going to be able to do this. So I wanted to do this once to see what it's like. The club is going to be a Class A station because you're going to have 3 or more people. And you're setting up specifically for field days. So you guys are going to be an A. You're probably going to be, I would assume, John, an 8A or something like that. Probably. I don't know what the exact number is.
We'll have to see before
we'll have to see what sets up.
But probably 5A, 6A, or 7A. I doubt that we would have 8.
But we were a 7A, I think, at winter. That's why.
Yeah, we were 7A at winter field day.
Yeah. So there may be 6 or 7, whatever. However many transmitters the club decides to simultaneous operate. Now, I don't know if the club is setting up a soda station or what do they call it? Yeah.
The get on the air station is
GOTA. That's it. GOTA.
Is a totally separate thing and does not even operate under the same call sign.
Right. Yeah.
It has to operate under a different call sign, and you only get
new operators.
You only get points for operating the station. You don't get contact points.
So you could set up just about any station, make one contact on it with a new ham, and you could get those points.
Right.
That's one of those easy multipliers I'd get in the middle of the night.
You can either do a non-ham that's being backed up by an experienced operator.
Right.
Like, Joseph could work with one of his brothers or sisters that aren't licensed yet
Right.
on a GOTA station. Typically, this club doesn't do GOTA stations. I don't know that we've done one any year that I've participated in it anyway. How about you, Dave? Do you know of any?
Yeah, we've always had a GOTA station, but it doesn't get much activity until you can corral somebody who's interested in what we're doing. Then you can get them over on the mic.
Yeah. Maybe you guys will find somebody out there that that's new that we can throw on the radio for 5 minutes and make one contact. That's all you got to do to get them points. All right. Well, anyway, let's go back and continue on here. And John, you know a lot more about field day than we do. So if you please feel free to jump in anytime. All right. Station. Now, these exchanges vary wildly. I'm just trying to give you the basics here. Stations in ARL sections will exchange their field day operating class and their section. The 3 transmitter A section in Connecticut. This is how you would do it. It's basically when you call CQ, there's so many different ways to do it, and you'll hear as guys get really good at this, they'll find ways to shortcut this. But basically, this is how it goes. You're going to hear somebody CQ field day, CQ field day. They'll give their call sign. That's when you would call back with your call sign. Then at that point, you're going to hear a lot of people calling in with their call sign. Usually when you got a station that's calling CQ, they're normally the stronger stations. They're the ones that are out working the CQ side of things. And when they call out, they'll say CQ, and immediately you'll hear a bunch of stations piping in. So you have to call your call sign in there, W4LX. And let's say they say AA4JS. You just have to wait. You have to wait till the next time he calls CQ again. And a lot of times all he'll say is 7-3, and he won't even call CQ again, and people will start jumping on there. Eventually, you'll get him. You'll say W4LX, and he'll say station ending in X-ray. And you'll say Whiskey 4 Lima X-ray. And he'll say station in X-ray, try again. Whiskey 4 Lima X-ray. Say it nice and slow, nice and clear so he can hear it. Whiskey 4 Lima X-ray. Whiskey 4 Lima X-ray. 7 Alpha, South Florida. Roger, KO4EFS, 1 Delta, South Florida. 7-3, good luck. That's the exchange right there. That's pretty much it. Like I said, everyone's a little different. But that's pretty much how it goes. And that's all there is to it. Don't be afraid of the exchange. Do you know what's going to happen to you if you screw up?
Nothing.
Do you have any idea what's going to happen to you if you screw up? Nothing. As a matter of fact, I hear these contact people. I hear these people on contests. They're either 7 Alpha, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, he sounds like a dispatcher in New York. I mean, these guys are good, right? You know what I'm talking about, John? He sounds like that fire dispatcher that's been doing it 40 years, right? I mean, this guy's really good. And you get on there and you screw up and he comes on. It's okay, buddy. It's all right, and he's helping me out. And I'm like, a minute ago, I thought he was going to chew my head off if I screwed this up. I find contesters to be nice folks. I really do.
Yeah.
I have not had a rude, on the radio on contesting. I haven't. Now you find them on 80 meters all night long, but you can't. But I really haven't found any on contesting. The people on contesting, even the ones that do it a lot, are really nice. The reason why, they need you to do this again because you're the one they're talking to. So there's just no reason to be a jerk, and they normally aren't. When you hear a station calling CQ, and there's a bunch of people responding to them, that's called a pileup. Now, pileups are cool because that station's working a lot and he's fast and he's getting them in and getting them out. It's bad because you may be on the bad end of his wire or whatever, and you're not getting in there that well. So let me give you a couple of tricks, and then I'll open it up for John, because he's probably got a few tricks too. But let me tell you something that these guys taught me, and it worked well. Like, I would go W4LX, Whiskey 4, Lima X-ray, Whiskey 4, Lima X-ray. And it's like, they're not hearing me. They're not hearing me. It's like, John says, wait a little while. Don't jump right on it every time. Instead of being the first call sign out, we've got a short call sign. So wait a second and then throw yours in so that it's the last one the guy hears. Sure enough, I would wait till everybody else piles in there, and I'd wait till right about the end. I go, Whiskey 4, Lima X-ray. And sure enough, he'd come back. Unit ending in X-ray. I'm like, yeah. Whiskey 4, Lima X-ray. Lima X-ray station, come again. Whiskey 4, Lima X-ray. Whiskey 4, Lima X-ray. 7 Alpha, South Florida. That's how quick it happens. And all you have to do in your log is put, his call sign, 7A, SFL. That's exactly what goes in your logbook. W4LX, 7A, SFL. All right, John, did I miss anything, or give us some more tips?
You did a real good job. I noticed you really, of course, you're a radio guy anyway, so you know this, but you really enunciated that LX.
That's the important part.
And that's where they're going to get you. That's where they're going to hear you.
Yep. And when you're calling CQ and you hear 50 people out there, use a technique to thin the herd. Don't come back and say, try it again, because you're going to get the same 50 stations again. So let me give you a couple of tricks. One trick is to hear a last letter and say, X-ray station, go again. That limits you down right there. That probably cuts off 80% of them right there. And now maybe you'll hear that guy come in clearer, because you won't have all those other stations broadcasting at the same time.
November 6th station or something like that.
That works too. You can, if you heard the beginning of a call sign, you could say November 6th station, come again. And that's a good way. You can also do what some people do, play by the numbers. You'll hear a station out there, and you'll hear a 4 station, and you can say, there's a lot of you. Let's go with the 4 station, 4 stations only, come now. And that way you've just eliminated about 90% of the stations. And now you're only going to get 2 or 3 coming in. You'll be able to get a clear call sign now. So there's different ways to do it. And a lot of it, you don't have to use one method. You can try different methods. If you're hearing the last of the call signs, then use that thing where you use the last letter of the call sign. If it's just a total mess, say, I'm only taking 4 stations, 4 stations only. CQ, 4 stations only, come now. It's just different ways you can try it. I suggest in the middle of the night when it quiets out, call CQ. Go ahead and do it. Don't just answer all night. Go out and actually be that station calling CQ.
Yeah,
just
don't be afraid to park and bark.
Exactly. Don't, because you're working at 100 watts. Most everybody else is working at 100 watts too.
Right.
So get on there and actually, once you've gotten comfortable with answering the call, then go out and be the guy calling CQ. I did that in the middle of the night when there's not as many people on, and I went out and actually worked it for a while. And take it slower, talk slower, and they'll act slower on the other end, because they'll realize you're a newer station. Okay. You don't have to be as fast as the New York City fire dispatchers that you're listening to on there. You don't have to be that fast. And most of the people will slow down and work with you.
There's 2 modes of this. There's search and bounce, and then there's run. Run is where you call CQ and actually control the frequency. And that's
What was that?
the way to go to get a lot of points.
Yeah. Yeah, if you get good at calling CQ, if you get good and you get a good frequency and it's working for you, yeah, you can park it there and make a lot of contacts in a short amount of time.
And you also want to use software. I think that logging by the computer is far superior to having to fool around with paper and that kind of thing. I use N1, MN Plus. Other people use the N3, FJP or whatever.
N3 FJP is what the club uses, yes.
Yeah. So whatever you like to use, whatever you're used to, it's a great idea to have a computer logging. to work it with the computer on it. Otherwise,
And let me get into it a little bit for those of you who have not done contesting. Why is it so important? Because you're going to run into the same people over and over and over. You got this powerful station in North Carolina, let's say, and he's calling CQ on whatever 7 dot whatever, and he's been calling on that channel all day long. So as you work the band, you're working the same band. You're working that band up. You're going to come across that guy every time you come up the band. There he's going to be sitting there again, and he's going to be calling, and you'll hear him, and you may not remember. Your memory might suck like mine, and you may not remember, oh, that's the guy I already worked. So when I hear
work him, or did I just try to work him?
Right, exactly, because a lot of times you'll sit on somebody for 5 minutes and still not get them, but you heard their call sign over and over and over, so you might not remember what it is. The moment you run across him, get his call sign typed into the computer. The moment you get his call sign typed into the computer, you're going to know if you've already got him or not. The program's going to go, you've already got that guy on this band.
Yeah.
Once you've already, and remember, with the club software, when you're working a guy, you'll know if John got that guy on the day shift on that same band, because it's all connected together. And that's so important, because you do not get credit for dupes. As a matter of fact, some contests fine you points for dupes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you don't want dupes.
This isn't a contest.
No, it's not. Thank God. But
Let's back up. I want to see somebody get in front of the microphone and pound their fist and say, "This is not a contest."
This is not a contest. It's
Then
not
I
a
want to
contest.
say, "Really?"
I love it. I love it. And you know, it truthfully, it isn't a contest. But that being said, it's fun, and it's supposed to be a fun contest among friends, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's a fun thing. But the main thing I wanted to get across to people tonight, the absolute main thing, is to not be afraid of screwing up and not worrying about getting that exchange perfectly right, because it really just is not that big a deal. It's just not.
Perfect.
It is. And this is for practice. So just get on there and screw up. There's not that many people listening to you anyway, and nobody knows you and nobody cares. Okay, when contesting.
Like this, some people say, "Oh, the band conditions are going to be lousy." Well, when everybody gets on and starts calling CQ, it's amazing how the bands open up.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, if the bands were wide open, it would be a mess.
Yeah.
So I don't even know what that would be like. So yeah, you're going to run into mini pileups, man. These pileups are when a bunch of stations get on there. So here's some other things you can do. When don't bite off more than you can do. You can chew. Practice working the other side of the pileup for a while before starting your own. We talked about that a minute ago. Just get really good at answering CQs, and then once you feel like you've gotten good at it, and you've already worked everybody, you've gone up and down the band. I like to go up to the top, to the low end, and work my way up. And then when I get to the end of the band, I stop and I go back down to where the general license starts. And then I start right there and I start working my way back up again. And I go down and I go back and forth and work it like that. But after a while, what you find is you've already worked everybody that's out there calling CQ. Once you feel like you've gone up and down twice and everybody there, you've put their call in, you've already got them. You put them in, you've already got them. You need to find a new group of people to talk to. Well, if the club's got you on one band and you got to stay on that band for 2 or 3 more hours, you have no choice but to go start calling CQ. You got to change your tactics. You got to call and talk to different people. So now it's time to switch and do CQ. Be brief and develop a consistent pattern. Be polite and helpful without breaking the pattern and slowing down the process. They hate it when they're working you, and all of a sudden you're like, so what's the weather like in Albuquerque? It just breaks the cycle. We're working a cycle. It's not for that. Okay. So do what everybody else is doing and try to fit in. It's kind of like that thing on Sesame Street. You know, one of these kids is doing his own thing You really want to get in there and do what all the other kids are doing, because that's how things work the best.
Yeah.
Work loud stations first. When you're calling CQ, okay, don't try to get that little station down in the QRM first. Work your boomers first. Get your big stations first. Get them out of the way. Then you'll be able to hear these lighter stations that are down in the background. If a pileup is big enough, you may have difficulty discerning a complete call in the noise. In that case, of course, we talked about what to do in that case. Calling station numbers in a call will instantly silence. By using the numbers, you're going to eliminate 90% of the people. Say, I'm only wanting the calls, 9 call sign, 9 calls only. Stay calm, have fun. Ultimately, working a pileup is about having fun. If it gets too intense or it feels like a job, take a break, go do something else. Let's say you're working a great pileup and you're working the club radio and you're working a great pileup. You got to pee, you got to go get something to eat. It's been hours. Call John, have him come over and take the pileup from you. Call John, have him take the pileup on his radio. Let's say you're working 40, it's your band right now. You need 30-minute break. You need to take a break. That's fine. If you think you've got something really good going, then find somebody to take that band while you're off for 30 minutes and keep that pileup going. So don't always just think you're going to lose what you've got or lose your frequency or lose your pileup. Get somebody else to work it for you. Free VHF station, we talked about this. This is that GOTA station. It's just a way to get an extra station on the air, but it really doesn't get much for you. Class D home stations, that's what I'm going to be doing. Class D stations can work this year, and work on commercial power. Get as many points as you can. You're competing against other stations that worked on commercial power. That's the temporary rule waiver that I'm working under this year. I think there's 1 or 2 other of us in here tonight that are going to work under this rules waiver. That's great. Let's do it. It's our last year to do it. Try it out. And then next year we'll all have to be out in a field somewhere again. For 2021, what was that?
Unless the Chinese come up with a new disease.
Yeah.
Yep.
For 2021, Class D and Class C stations are limited to 150 watts. The reason for that is because we're allowed to contact anybody. Normally, home stations working on commercial power are very limited as to which stations they can contact. But that's been lifted for this year. Field day contacts are allowed using phone, CW, and digital. You can work somebody on each of the 3 modes. Now, FT8 and FL Digi, that would count as one. That's still one contact because it's one digital contact. So you get one phone, one digital, one CW per person or club per band. Okay. So in other words, you can get a CW on 40 with the same guy and then turn around and get a digital with the same guy on 40 and turn around and talk to him on phone on 40. And it counts as 3 contacts with the same guy on the same band. Okay. So everybody understands that, right? You get each guy. And when I say guy, I'm using that very generic. You get each human one time per mode, per band. Field day contests are allowed using phone. I just did that. All voice contacts are equivalent. All non-CW contacts are equivalent. They are giving 2 points, I think, for CW. Voice and an FT8 get 1 point. John, I don't like that. I don't want to get into a large debate about it, but let's talk about it for a minute. I don't like that phone and FT8 are the same. FT8's about 3 times quicker making contacts. I personally believe, in my opinion, that phone should be worth 2 or 3 points to what FT8 is worth. I'm going to work FT8 and I'm going to work phone. I should, if I was trying to win this thing, I should just work FT8 the entire time, because that by far is the most efficient way of making contacts in the whole entire world. But that being said, I want to work phone. I like working phone. That's where the skill's at. There's not near as much skill in FT8. There is still some for sure, but not as much. So does anybody have any opinions on any of that? What do you guys think about that? FT8 having the same point value as a phone contact.
Well, I think if you look at why that is, it's probably just because the rule has never been changed. Phone is how it started out. FT8's relatively new, and nobody wants to say, yeah, we're going to take the longest running mode and bump the points up. That's probably, I think you're right, though. FT8 is like you set it and forget it kind of thing. It'll just run by itself. But phone, you do actually have to do stuff. So it probably should be worth more than FT8, or FT8 should be worth like half a point or something. I mean, if you don't want to, if you don't want to bump voice up. Yeah.
What you think, John?
I'm taking a look at the rules here. I know on winter field day, digital contacts, and FT8 is a digital contact, are 2 points. A voice contact is 1. CW is 2 points. And I'm trying to look up here in the ARRL rules for field day. Yeah, it's the same thing. Phone contacts count 1 point each. CW contacts count 2 points each. Digital contacts count 2 points each.
Now, how's that fair? I mean, that's
well, I think it's a history thing, as Joe pointed out. You know, when people were first starting to do digital, the ARRL wanted to encourage people to do more digital, so they gave it more points. Well, you know, the digital scene has changed over the years, and maybe the ARRL hasn't changed quite as quickly. That's only my speculation. I don't totally know, you know, I don't for sure know what their thinking is. That's just my guess.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know. I just I must have misread it. I thought that if FT8 was 1 point and phone was 1 point. But
rewind to a year ago when you were a brand new ham.
Yeah.
And you walked into field day and you couldn't believe all these guys were on computers. Nobody were talking. I remember you making that comment, and I remember talking to you and telling you that, you know, a lot of us are running digital because it's 2 points where it's just 1 for phone contact.
And I still kind of feel like I do that day. I still feel like phone is the it's the basis of this whole thing, and I just I don't know. I almost think they need to reevaluate this now and set it the other way. I think that phone should definitely be worth twice what FT8 contacts are worth. That's just my opinion.
It's like FT8 is practically an automated mode at this point. I mean, there is,
Yeah,
you know,
no,
you do have to select your
Careful,
band
you're
space
opening
and
up
everything.
a can of worms.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, it's not an automated way of making contact. You still have to sit there and do it. You have to pick a clean parking spot, and you have to transmit, and you have to do. But even in contesting mode, it even logs it automatically. I mean, all you really have to do is pick a spot, pick a band, and pick a side of the road and initiate the contact. I mean, that's pretty much all you're doing. And so I'm torn because if all I'm caring about is points, I'm going to sit here and work FT8 for 24 hours nonstop. Okay, I'm going to get one of the little birds that just hits the button. But I don't want to do that. I mean, I want to do it right, you know. So I'm going to do half and half. I'm going to make myself do phone half the time. I'm going to make myself do phone half the time. To be fair for you guys, you know.
Oh yeah, well, let's catch up.
I don't want to beat you guys because I'm probably going to give you my points anyway. Of course, if I here's the thing, if I turn my points in, then I can't count any contacts I make with W4LX.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering what would be better, because we're going to make you know, being as close as we are and knowing what you guys are doing and what I'm doing, I'm sure we're going to make a lot of those bonus point contacts. You know what I mean? And none of that. Let me tell you, here's the thing. If I give my points to the club, they don't count all that much. Okay. But if I'm here and you're there and we're two separate things and we make contacts between us and you get multipliers based on those contacts, you'll do better with me not being. You'll actually make more points with me being a separate entity than submitting my points to the club.
Yes, indeed.
There's so much strategy to this. I just love it. You know, it's when I play video games, I don't play first person shooters. You know, I don't walk around with the guy. Well, there's one Star Trek game with phasers and stuff. But anyway, for the most part, I don't walk around with guns and shoot people. That's not the kind of games I play. I play like generals, you know, where you've got your army and you've got to send your army down this road and you've got to build tanks and you've got to build planes and they got to be a certain kind of plane because they've got to defeat this kind of, you know, that's the kind of games I play because I'm into strategy, trying to figure out the best way to legally game the system. I'll admit it. That's what I like, to legally game the system, because if you do it legally, you've won. You've won something. Because you've done it right and you game the system at the same time. To me, hey, it's a win-win. So let's get gaming. Anyway, I think it's going to be fun. I'm going to try to call you guys. I'm going to have all kinds. I'm going to be on 2-meter call, 70-centimeter call. I went and looked through the ARL's standard rules, and I went and looked through the ARL's rules for summer field day, and there is no prohibition on using call channels.
No, I don't know why there would be.
Well, some contests there are.
Oh.
Yeah, believe it or not, there's
winter field day suggests
theirs is a strong suggestion. Yes,
not use calling channels.
Yes, but for summer for field day, I call it summer field day, and technically it's wrong. It's field day. But
field day.
Right. But I call because winter field day was my first big one. To me, this is summer field day.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so yeah, you can use calling channels. It's not in the rules. It's not even suggested not to do it in the rules. If it is, let me know. I can't find it. I actually went through there because in their rules it says here's the ARL field day rules, and then it says, and also our general rules apply. So I went and I got the general rules and I read them too. And I can't find anywhere where it says you can't use the calling channels. So I'm going to be monitoring 2-meter call, 70-centimeter call. And I'm not setting this up with you guys ahead of time. I monitor those anyway. They're both on right now. So anyway, that's what that's going to be. And we'll see what we get. Maybe we'll do some sideband, 70-centimeter sideband. That's where it's at. All right. Anyway. Cool. All right. Let me go through the rest of this stuff here. All right. So. Oh, there it is, John. You're right. I don't know where I got that other page. It's a little conflicted there, but whatever. Anyway, you are correct. Exactly. Digital contacts there count as 2 points apiece. And what? Well, I nothing else, actually. I expected nothing else. Power multipliers. This is interesting. The power multiplier that applies is determined by the highest power output of any transmitter used during field day. So whatever, basically the way this works is whatever your highest wattage transmitter is that you're going to be using, that's your power class. Doesn't matter. You can have 15 of them running low power. If you've got one running 200 watts, you're a high power club.
That's the way most of them work.
Yeah. So it's 150. The cutoff is 150 watts. I like that because I don't have anything that puts out more than 100 watts. So the best way to never break the rules is not being able to break the rules. Let's see here. The power multiplier is determined by the maximum output power used by any transmitter. Okay. Bonus points. This is interesting. I was surprised how many freaking bonus points you can get. Lord, we don't have to go through all these completely, but I was just very surprised. You get a bonus point. You get 100 points if you're 100% on emergency power. You get 100 points if you have media and publicity, which I know our club does. We get 100 points for the public location. We get 100 points for the public information table, which our president, Steve Clayton, is setting up. We have a message origination to section manager. They're setting up a special traffic net, an NTS net that day to handle that, to get those points. Satellite QSO. Message handling. We're going to get some points for that there too. Those are two things that the NTS helps us with. Satellite QSOs, 100 bonus points for successfully completing. You can make 1,000 satellite contacts. You just get the 100 points. So it's one of those things where you just make one. Brian Darley has to really get one contact out there to get us those 100 points. Come on, Brian. And it sucked because last year he set up everything. And there was something going on. It was like the one satellite pass we had or something we could, it didn't, I don't know what happened, but it was like messed up. I forget what it was. Satellite QSO, let's see, alternate power. If you make a minimum of 5 QSOs on battery power alone, you can claim another one there. I don't know what this W1AW bulletin.
Yeah.
I guess they're going to give out bulletins, and if we copy the bulletin down, we get points for that.
I can describe that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Every year, the W1A, the mothership station, ARRL's station, puts out a bulletin, and I think it comes out on Friday night. And if you copy it and I think you have to retransmit it during the field day operations, you get those bonus points. And I personally have never done it, but I know there's some way that they verify that you copied the bulletin and met the requirements.
All right, the educational activity bonus, if you're includes specific, which ours is, we actually have someone coming to speak about a topic, so we'll get those points out there. Site visitation by an elected government official. I don't think we're probably going to get that one. I thought there was one for getting somebody from emergency management or something out. That one might count for that, I think.
From time to time, we have had elected officials, but yeah, I think, I know in the past we've had people from emergency management show up, and we have been able to claim them as points or for bonus points since they sign in.
And you got your GOTA bonus, which you've already talked about, your web submission. If you go on there and you put an entry on social media, you get points for that. 20 points may be earned by any class station for people that are under 18. So they're encouraging younger folks to do it. Social media, 100 points.
Joe, bring all your brothers and sisters that are under 18. That'll get us about 3,000 points, won't it?
There you go.
If they all call on there.
Yeah, they got to just come out and make a call on the radio, and you get the points for them to be there. Anybody under 18 gets us points.
All right. Wait, does 18 count? Do I count?
No.
Oh, yeah. So it's
well,
17 and
it
younger.
actually it says 18 or younger. Technically, that would include you.
It would include me, yes.
So we got to make sure we mark that down.
Yeah.
That's one for
and
sure.
Who knows? We might have the family come out at some point. Probably at least some of them will come. But
that 20 points might actually get our club to win this whole thing. Okay, social media, another one there. And safety officer. For the first time, we actually have designated safety officers now, and we'll get the credit bonus for that. Our club's going to get like 4,000 points just on this one slide. I mean, you guys are done. You don't even need to show up. All right. And so basically the bottom line is get on the radio somewhere this weekend. And listen, I'm going to say something now that is not spoken a lot. And if you're going to yell at me, you can, John, or somebody. Just get on the radio. You don't have to fill out a log. You don't have to submit. People think, well, I can't talk to contesters because I'm not going to go through the hassle of figuring that whole Cabriello Folio thing. I'm not going to go through the whole thing of having to buy HRD software and go to hell. I'm not going to do any of these things. So what you end up doing is you end up never participating because of something that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You want to know what matters? I'll tell you what matters. talking on the radio. Call people on the radio. Give them your exchange. Figure out what your exchange is. We're all SFL. And if you're working at home, you're a 1 Delta. So if you're home this weekend and just dial on the radio and start calling people, and when they answer you, you're 1 Delta, South Florida. It's real simple. 1 Delta, South Florida. What's going to happen if you don't turn in your logbook? Nothing. He still gets credit. As long as a certain percentage of his have been turned in, he gets credit for all of them. So all I'm saying is here, you don't have to be a contester to do field day. You don't have to be a person that sends logs in or Cabriello files or however you say that. You don't have to be one of these people that's all involved and is really good at it. Anybody can do field day. Anybody.
Just get on the air and have fun.
Get on the air and have fun. If nothing else, give me a shout on a call channel and we'll exchange. You can start with me. And it's pretty cool. So that's pretty much it. And remember, you can, if you're a small station, like you're working by yourself, remember to use your resources out there. One thing you can do is you can monitor a second radio on different bands. If you're, I list myself as an assisted station, so you can pretty much do whatever you want. You can use PSK Reporter. You can use any software that's out there that helps you spot. You can use any of that if you're listed as an assisted station. If you want to go and just sit there in your shack and not use any resources and not talk to anybody and not get any help and not work with anybody, not do anything, that's an unassisted station. And I don't know exactly how it works, but whatever. But use your resources and find people to talk to. I will tell you that, of course, I don't need to tell anybody that's on here this, but it's mostly 20 is your big band during the day and 40 is your big band at night. And then you just have to find the other people from that point. And then your wild cards become 80 and 15.
Yeah, last summer I did really well on 15.
Yeah. 15 can open up. And at night, I went down to 80 and worked 80 a lot through the night. So, and got some folks up there.
70 centimeter also opens up at night.
Yeah.
70 centimeter will open up at night pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Every night, like it'll go crazy.
And I got a couple contacts on 2 meter, and I got one contact on 70 centimeter at Winterfield Day. So, and then I ended up getting, I think, one on this sideband too. But I don't know. There's a lot to it. There's no other time in the entire year that this many people are going to be listening to their radios. That's the bottom line. You want to hear what it used to sound like. This is it. All right. Let's see here. It's time for the news. I got to get some music. I got to get like a sounder that plays right here. And now it's time for the news.
In the background.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, the old sound. People don't realize that when you watch the news and there's that little you ever hear that
Morse code.
It comes from the teletype machines, because in the old days you would hear that in the background on the news in the 50s. And so they literally, that sound has been incorporated into the music over the years. And to this day, still at some stations, they'll start that. And that's where that comes from. Anyway, let's see. The first thing, I got to say it again. Here we go. 220 is just about back. And it's time to program your radio. If your radio was programmed before, it will not work now. And I'm going to tell you why. Before, it was an open PL. Now we've got PL tone 136.5 on there, because we don't want nobody to know about it. So no, we put that on there because we don't want any problems. This is usually a really clear band, but it was a good idea to have a PL on every repeater, as you guys know. So that's what we got there. So that's the repeater. That's the No Name net, is going to be on Wednesday nights at 7:30, and it's a fun net. It's not a long net because the digital net on Fusion is at 8 o'clock. So we don't, it's one of those things where we try to try to get on and get off before the 8 o'clock net starts on the Fusion. And other than that, that's about it. The equipment that they used is right there. The pictures are there. Those were pictures the guys took after they installed the equipment. And that tower is right downtown. I think that's the big phone tower that's right down off of Henry Street right there, isn't it?
That is, yes.
That thing's been there a long time.
My aunt used to work in that phone building for 25 years for the phone company. That tower used to hold the big horns that talked to the relay tower that used to sit just south of Lake Okeechobee near Moorhaven. And then that one talked to the big horns over in West Palm. And that's how we used to get that telephone signal across in the 50s.
Yep, that tower was there when I was a little boy.
Yep, a tower. It used to have the big horns. The one where the receiver was at the bottom and it would come up like a big seashell.
Yeah.
Like that, yeah. It used to have a bunch of those on it. And now it sits up there. That tower could probably hold 20, 50 times the weight that's on it right now. Because it used to hold these huge receiver dishes up there.
And that thing went through Hurricane Donna and Hurricane Charlie and all of them.
Yep. So it's a good tower. It's right there. It literally like comes out of the roof of what used to be the phone. I think it is still a phone company building or something there.
Yes, CenturyLink. That's where
Is it
Brian
still?
Darley's
Yeah.
office is.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Well, there you go. I know Brian's heavily involved with it. That explains. Well, there you go. The 220. And I think it's going to probably have as good or better footprint than it had before. We got a brand new transmitter. We got a brand new everything. We got a new antenna. We got new tuning. I'm telling you guys, it's going to be really good. It's going to be, and it's a great band. The little bit of time I got to play on it, I mean, a little Baofeng portable with my little 220 special antenna that's supposed to go on it. And it's just as clean as any frequency ever. It works really, really well. And I had a mobile too, but the Magic Smoke came out of that. But maybe I'll get another one that still has the Magic Smoke inside. All right, the RSS SSTV event has ended. They actually ended it a day early because of the planned spacewalk. Or should I say the lately planned spacewalk? I don't believe so. I think it was actually over tonight anyway.
No,
So
John was saying, John said this earlier. That,
is it back up?
They had to knock a good portion of today out. But according to the ARISS website, they are back on the air, and they're going to continue it until, I think, 1 o'clock Sunday.
Oh, okay. Well, we can get these all weekend then.
So set your stuff up overnight.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, on Tuesday, I believe it was, on the 2 in the afternoon.
Yep.
I put it on 145.8, like you said, on the Monday night net, and I took this app on the phone, and that's what I got.
Isn't that amazing? It's so amazing that you can send and receive it just by holding your phone up. And you know something I found? The better my antenna, the worse it works. And the reason is because, and Joseph came up with this, and I think he's absolutely right. The lobe, your lobe is shooting across the horizon. And the better your antenna, why is it a better antenna? Because it has better lobes, has tighter lobes. It's like a Ferengi. And the tighter those lobes, the less of your signal is sending and receiving into space. And so what ends up happening is, like my Ringo Ranger, it don't pick it up at all. It gets it when it first comes off the horizon, and then it's dead. This thing is completely dead above it. It excludes everything above it, just like it's supposed to. Well, that's great, except it doesn't pick up the space station worth the crap. My Yagis don't pick it up worth the crap. Nothing picks it up. And you know what picks it up best? You're going to laugh. But my 10-watt TYT, I actually took my the best image I've gotten so far. I took this TYT radio and I took my tablet, and in the parking lot at work, I held the radio up to the tablet and I just kept attenuating the antenna between vertical and horizontal polarization until I got a perfect signal each time. And I would just literally keep moving and holding that thing until I could get that perfect signal. That's how I got the best one. At the same time, My car radio with my roof mounted antenna with my ground plane was receiving one inside the car, and it was not quite as good as the one I got with the portable outside the car. So everything tells me that polarization matters. And so next time they do this, I'm going to try some different polarization. I want to try setting up a VHF horizontal polarized antenna and seeing if I can do better with a fixed position on that. So, but anyway, that was just something I wanted to bring up with you guys. Anything else on that?
It would work with 2 receivers and 2 antennas at the same time. In other words, you try a kind of a crude type of diversity reception in which you have one horizontal and one vertical, just to see how it does. So you're going to get some noise off one of them, but still, it might work.
And it's easy to do because you know what I've been doing? I actually, sorry. Oh my God, I've been talking a lot. I've been thinking about somehow cross-polarizing, making an antenna that's cross-polarized so that it would receive both. And then I got thinking about it. Wait a minute. There's got to be an antenna that's made to do this. So I'm going to research it. I'm going to figure it out. There's got to be a better way. Anyway, that's that. Anything else on the ARIS event? I just wanted to mention, there's those 2 pictures. You can see that I captured one in the parking lot with my QYTHT, and the other one I captured using my mobile. And you can see they both are just about identical. And one was on a much better mobile radio, a Yazoo radio with a quarter wave on the roof with a nice ground plane. And it didn't do any better than the other one. So it's very interesting. This one here, I was on Web SDR in Johannesburg, South Africa, and I got that one. And then these are some other ones I got from here. What I was doing was I've got the flyovers up on one of my screens. I've got the map. And if I saw it flying towards an SDR, I would pull up that SDR and throw on my SSTV, and I'd sit there and pull the images down. I probably got I think I've got at least a piece of all those pictures by now. All right. So anything else on the ARIS event? All right. Website of the week, Web SDR. I don't know how many of you have used this website. What an awesome. Did I mention it's awesome? Website where you can actually go in and listen to radios all over the world. There's a bunch of them. You can see them all represented here on this map. What I really like about this is you can use it for 50 different things. Okay, let me tell you what you can use it for. Let's say you're from Cleveland, Ohio, and you want to hear the radio stations in Cleveland, Ohio. Use it for that. Let's say you're in, you want to go and you want to listen to Morse code in another part of the world. You can do that. Let's say you want to decode images somewhere. You can do that. Let's say you want to just listen to voice in another part of the world. Let's say you want to put your radio on 20 and see if you can hear yourself. There is so much things you can do with these. I've been going to them and hooking. All I did was use that cable thing. We're going to talk about it in a second, and connect my browser to my MMSS TV program. And next thing you know, I'm receiving images on 14.800. Well, no, I'm talking about.
Oh, you're talking about HF.
HF, yeah, 14.230. I actually go in there, I go to each one, put it on 14.230 and let it sit there for a while. I'll come back. There'll be 3 or 4 pictures on there. So if you've ever just wanted to play around with SSTV, and there's no SSTV here in South Florida, because let me tell you something, there's not a lot of transmissions down here compared to other places. Just by virtue of the fact that there's water on 3 sides of us, there's just not as many people around. When you go to an SDR in the middle of the country, there's radios in every direction, but that's not necessarily the case here. When you're only going out 300 miles, there's not radios in that many directions. So that's why that works like that. Okay. The way this works, basically, you go up to the filter, You pull down the website, you click on, you set your filter up for whatever band you want to use, for what region you want to use. You could go like North America, South America. You can also put the frequency. What I like to do, if I'm going to pick up the Space Shuttle SSTV, I go there and I put in 145.8, 145.8, hit enter. It will now only bring up the web SDRs that will pick up that frequency. So, and it takes them off the map. And you can scroll down to the bottom, take a look at the map, and see which ones around the world pick up the frequency you need to listen to. And it's really just that simple. It's actually an amazing piece of software. Here's an example of the one out of Utah, which they're one of my favorites. Those ones in Utah are really, really good. I've actually talked on 40 before and heard my voice in Utah on the radio in Utah. So that's what this is here. And this one down here is a different one. Each radio looks a little different. The software they're using, it works basically on the same platform, but each one is highly customizable. So when you go to each one, it looks like a totally different radio. Please remember, all the buttons are called the same thing. You just have to find them. It's just a matter of finding where they put the buttons. But every radio has a zoom in, zoom out. Every radio has the USB, FM, AM. Every radio has the same buttons. Just find the buttons. And then, of course, you'll need to download the virtual audio cable program that Joseph told us about last week. You'll need that to connect WebSDR to whatever other thing in your computer you want to connect it to, because we're not actually physically going through a sound card. We're going to use a virtual sound card. And then I want at this point to stop that here and let's pull this up for a second. It's websdr.org. And I'm actually just going to pull it up so you guys can, and we're actually going to go in and pull it up so we can see it real quick. This is what the actual website looks like. I just pulled this up. This is live. I go in here and select my band. I select what region I want to use, and I can also just put the frequency in. So if I just want to see ones that will do the Space Shuttle .8, I hit that, it comes up, and now I can go to any of these, so I can look over and see where's the Space Shuttle. Now, right now, the Space Shuttle, space station is going into the Atlantic, and it's going to be a while before it's over in the SDRs, so let's not worry about that. But this will show you all of the SDRs. See, it shows you the frequency range here, and it colors the one I'm looking for. So I pick the one I want to go to, and I just click right into it. So I'm going to take this back out, and it will show me all of them. Now, you can scroll down to the bottom of the screen, and there's that handy little map right there. And you can zoom in. Let's say you want to listen to the ones here. You zoom into the one you want to listen to. There's those 4 in Utah right there. You click into the one you want to listen to, and you can click into it right here, and it brings up, shows you what frequencies that one will do. And it tells you even what kind of antenna. These frequencies are all on a TCI 530 Omni long periodic, and their 6-meter rig is a full-size 6-meter J-pole. So that just kind of shows you can actually see what they're using for their antenna. And then when you click into the website, it brings you in. They actually have 4 different ones. These are so good in Utah. A lot of them are like this now. They're scanning everything at one time. So it's not like you have to get in and wait for someone else to get off. You can do everything you're doing in there while everybody else is doing everything they do in there too. So it's really cool. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because I think most of you have probably used this before. Basically, it comes in like this. I'm going to mute this because I don't think you guys can hear it anyway. There's your waterfall. Now, every one of these has the same sets of buttons. You can go in here and set your frequency. What do we want? 14.230. And there you go. It'll bring you right to somehow. Oh, this one might not go to that band. So if this one doesn't go to that band, I can click the green one. The green one will go to that band. Up there, it's on I can tell it's on FT8. I can hear it already. Yep, 14075. That's weird that it came up to the FT8 band. Yeah, that's definitely FT8. Okay. But so you go basically whatever frequency you want, and let's see, 230 is for slow scan TV. Put that in, and then you can zoom in. There's your waterfall, and you can see if you get any slow scan TV. And then, of course, you can grab this and move it to the exact frequency of the signal. This is so great because even if you don't have an expensive HF rig at your house yet, let's say all you've got is your VHF and you're talking on nets and that's as far as you've gotten, this gives you an opportunity to have an HF rig to start playing with right now. It's got everything but a mic. And you can go in here, you can check out AM, FM, sideband, upper sideband, lower sideband. You can go in here and adjust the bandwidth. You can adjust everything about this and listen to the different things. You can go in and listen to what different transmissions sound like. You can, by adjusting this, you can see what that is. You can see what this is by adjusting it down. Listen to it. Okay, that sounds like it might be something on FL Digi. Bring FL Digi up. See if it can decode it. It probably can. And you can actually sit here with FL Digi up and this program up and scan across and find different things that your FL Digi will be able to actually decode, and you'll be able to see what they're talking about. So really cool stuff. And if you notice on here, your bandwidth is over here, passband tuning, everything you need is right here. Your gain control, which is has an automatic setting, or you can do it manually. Everything's right there. I use these a lot. This is your zoom in and zoom out from your waterfall. And something else I always do, I like a bigger waterfall. I always set it for large. And you'll see it'll actually go up longer now and give me more waterfall. I just like it. I don't like it to be quite so small. And that you could do the speed here and the different types of things you can pick up here. But anyway, that's a quick nickel tour of the Web SDR. Everyone's going to look a little different. They all work the same. If you want to test your radio and see how you're getting out, and it's the middle of the night, just go tune one of these up somewhere and just go call CQ and have your headphones hooked to your computer and see if you hear yourself. There will be a slight delay because it goes at the speed of light.
You know, another thing I've done with this is when I meet with some guys up in Atlanta, sometimes when they're not coming in, I'll tune in I'll set one of these up and listen to another receiver, and I can hear them on that better than I hear it on my own receiver. So that works good.
There you go. I'll tell you something else you can do with it. Let's say you're just an amateur radio enthusiast like me, and I like to listen to repeaters in different towns. You ever wonder what the repeaters sound like in New York? Don't wonder. They're all right here. All you got to do is go to the SDR in that area. There's an SDR in DC. You want to hear what the nets sound like in DC? Just go on there in the evenings. I guarantee there's a 7 o'clock net, and scan around on the repeater bands on 2 meters, 70 centimeter. You'll find their nets. You can listen to nets in other towns. There's a lot of nets on Broadcastify now. I know Joseph and I have 3 streams up right now, and we're looking at some other stuff we're going to do. But there's not always a Broadcastify stream, so you can go to WebSDR and go to the town you want to go to and listen to it that way. All right. So any questions or anything on WebSDR?
It's also great for an old hobby of mine, which is AM broadcast DXing. Get on one of those and I actually got on one down in Key West, and I could hear a couple of the Fort Myers AM stations down there. So interesting thing.
Oh, that's cool. So again, literally anything that you can think of with radios, because these things pick up the entire radio spectrum. So they'll pick up aircraft band in AM. They'll pick up business band. They'll pick up everything in whatever town they're in. So it's just an amazing thing. And with the WebSDR ones, with most of them, you don't have to worry about tying up the channel. That's what's really cool about it. Those WebSDRs can service 100, 200, 300 people at a time. So I went on one time in Utah. You can scroll down to the bottom and it'll tell you how many people are on. There was like 50 people on there listening. So, and there's one I left on all night long collecting SSTV images. Woke up the next morning, it's still going. Other ones have a 2 or a 4 hour lockout, a timeout that will time out. Others will stay on indefinitely, literally indefinitely. All right. And then, of course, if you guys want to try this at home, you're going to need the VB audio cable, which is, we talked about. That's the thing that allows you to take your browser and connect it directly to your SSTV program or your FL Digi or your FT8 or whatever it is you're using to decode the signals. There's where you would get that. And there's a bunch of other ones out there too.